Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to talk about a couple of cards that Japan has and we don't have. And we kind of need. I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, these are kind of really good cards, really useful cards, really nice cards that would be really quite handy to have right now, except we don't have them, and I'm not 100% sure why. And okay, they are quite rare over in Japan, but no, it's kind of awkward. I am talking, of course, about Palace Book and Players Ceremony. Will we get them in the future? I have absolutely no idea. But I can tell you that both of these cards have actually been printed twice over in Japan, and we've got neither of them. So to start off with Palace Book then, it is an incredibly rare card. It was given out in Pokemon card meetings throughout Japan in September and October 2014. Flash forward then to November 2017, and it was again given out during Pokemon card gym meetings, and they've both got a lovely little stamp which reads, Pokemon card game Palace Battle winner. So basically you need to go to tournaments over in Japan and win them. They're very rare cards, right? We're not talking about every player over in Japan's got a play set of these cards. It's just not happening. But it's actually a really good card. It reads, draw 3 cards, your turn ends. Okay. But it's an item card. Now, being an item card means you can play it along with your supporters. You can play a Cynthia to shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 6 cards, then do a bunch of stuff, then draw 3. And okay, your turn ends, fine, but you get to draw the 3. You've still drawn 3 cards. They're there ready to use next turn. Now, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of Pokemon that can draw cards. Now, to be fair, drawing 3 on an attack is not terribly common. I mean, in terms of supporters, it's actually quite common. Because, I mean, we've just had Cynthia and Caitlyn that can draw 3. But it's also been kind of a fairly standard thing whereby Welder draws 3. And, well, I mean, How and Tiano, and it's just fairly standard, all right? And to be fair, with abilities, we can draw 3 quite nicely. The second Naganadel GX, if you discard an Ultra Beast from your hand, or a Choreo GX, the one that's just come out in Cosmic Eclipse, if you had a Pokemon KO during the previous turn. And then, of course, there are some attacks that can draw 3. I mean, I don't know, the Espeon from Lost Thunder just plain draws 3, and the Meowstic from Unbroken Bonds, the Glysaur from Unbroken Bonds. So, okay, granted, there are a bunch of them, but here's the thing. Do we want those Pokemon in the active? Like, not trying to be rude, right? But they're not particularly great Pokemon. We're using our attack. Why don't instead we have in the active Keldeo GX? That can block attacks from GXs. Or the new Wishy-Washy, whereby if it is damaged at the end of your turn, you can flip a coin. If tails, it goes back to your hand. You know, something really nice that we can use to try and make sure we're not giving up prizes. That's the key for me here. It's ending a turn, so you're not getting a real attack. And sure, there is an argument, well, if it's ending your turn, why don't you just use an attack that draws 3? Well, we want a Pokemon in the active that is frustrating our opponent. Not, and I'm sorry, but a 90 HP Espeon. It's not filling me with particular joy, that thought. Plus, Umbreon's way better. At me in the comments. Point is, really nice, and it's an item card. And in terms of item cards drawing 3, no. I mean, possible. So, Bicycle, for instance, drew until you had 4 cards in hand. So you can draw 3 with Bicycle. Heck, you can draw 4 with Bicycle. Just so long as you've got 1/0 cards in your hand. Yeah, fine, go for it. And we had Roller Skates. Roller Skates let you draw 3 cards. But also, right, not to be rude, but Roller Skates was on a coin flip. So if you flip tails, you do literally nothing. This is just a straightforward draw 3. As a fun little side note, if you play Will, you will flip a heads on your next Roller Skates, but then you're using an item and a supporter card to draw 3 cards. So Please do not think I am in any way, shape or form actually recommending that you do this. I am not. The point is, this would see play in some decks. Mostly blocking decks, mostly decks that aren't looking to attack every turn, etc. But it would see play in some decks. But here's also the other cool thing. Actually, really fun side note. I don't actually think for a second it's competitively viable, but I absolutely adore the new Kamala that came out in Cosmic Eclipse that puts 6 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon between turns. So if you can put both yours and your opponent's Pokemon to sleep, use Slumbering Forest to keep them asleep because you need to flip double heads to wake up, and then just use Kamala in the active. So much fun. Don't think it's good, do think it's fun. Anyway, point of this card is it's really good if you're not looking to attack every turn, like in a Kamala deck. But also, what about that new rule? You see, we've got a new rule coming. Well, that's not strictly confirmed yet. It's confirmed in Japan, not over here, but it's definitely happening. Whereby you are not going to be able to play supporter cards going first on your first turn. So your options are basically item draw and Pokemon draw. So Dedenne becomes all of our best friend basic Pokemon drawing cards. But there's no Cynthia or anything like that. There's no attacking turn 1 still. So our options are severely limited. But if you can do something like Dedenne and then play Palace Book, that would be wonderful, because you'd be able to draw 3 extra cards when you can't play a supporter and you can't attack, and you're ending your turn anyway. It really is a great option in that scenario. Big fan of Palace Book. I'm convinced it would see play in some decks, and I've seen it played over in Japan. It's hard to judge exactly how much play it would see in Japan, just because of how gosh darned rare it is, but I would love to see this as a promo over here. The other card I want to talk about is Player's Ceremony. Now, Player's Ceremony came out in 2018 and 2019. Both had different artwork. Both are amazing. And essentially, they were given to people who accumulated 120 championship points over the course of the season. As a side note, I know that doesn't sound like a lot if you're in the US, Europe, etc. Believe me when I say, over in Japan, oh my goodness, it definitely is. Now, you actually got it for 60 championship points in 2018 to 2019, but you're talking about, these are the tournaments over in Japan where they're having just a ridiculous amount of players and they're super competitive and extremely difficult. So again, we are not saying that everybody has a playset of these cards. That is frankly unrealistic. However, well, it's kind of reminiscent of Palace Book. Once during each player's turn, that player may draw 2 cards. If they do, that player's turn ends. Draw 2 cards, your turn ends. And if you don't think this would see play, have you forgotten about Tropical Beach? Tropical Beach was a World's promo, again, for 2 years. So again, there were 2 printings just like there have been of Player's Ceremony. Although Player's Ceremony is the last 2 seasons, so there is a chance we'll get, more of these in the future. And Tropical Beach let you draw until you had 7 cards in hand, and then your turn ended. Now, on the one hand, there was potential for drawing many more cards using Tropical Beach, because you could go down to 1 card in hand and draw 6, whereas Player's Ceremony is a flat draw 2. But it also doesn't ask you to discard cards from your hand so that you can draw extra, and I really appreciate that. I really love the fact that it's just a straight draw 2, so you can keep a giant hand of cards and know you're always going to be drawing. Now, as a quick side note, here is a deck list from Japan playing Player's Ceremony. Essentially, it's a stalling deck, right? Like I said, it would be. It is a deck whereby your entire goal is to try and make sure that your opponent isn't actually doing much. They're not able to get many attacks off, and they're failing moderately hard here. So we can see that it is built around such Pokemon as the Hooper from Shining Legends, the aforementioned Wishy-Washy, the Regigigas, which is just a non-GX of 180 HP. Fun little deck, and you can see 2 copies of Player's Ceremony right there as the stadium of choice. Again, a lot of what we said about Palace Book would apply to this. Great option turn 1 going first. Good news, it can be searched out really easily using Guzma and Hala. Bad news, You can't play Guzma and Hala turn 1 going first, but it's still a really nice option for those turns where you can't do anything else. It's good in stalling decks. And even if you want to argue that it's just not as good as Tropical Beach, and there is a strong argument that it's not, who cares? We don't have Tropical Beach in the standard format, so even if you want to argue that Tropical Beach is 1 billion times better, it doesn't matter because it's not legal in the standard format. So frankly, who cares, ladies and gentlemen? Who cares? Will we ever get these 2 cards over here? Possibly not, to be honest with you. I mean, it's been years and we haven't got either of them yet. That alone gives some fairly strong indication that we might never get them. Would they see play if they were released over here? I am convinced that they would. Especially with the new turn 1 rules that prohibit you playing a supporter or attacking on turn 1. I do think there is potential here. But I would very much be interested to know what you think about these cards. Do you want them? Do you think we'll ever get them? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.